Hello guys, I'm gonna do a little bit of talking. I thought it would be interesting to show you how I mix my drums. So I have a Ableton session open here, and there's a bunch of drum recording that I did earlier. They are solos, so I did different takes, and I'm gonna focus on one take in particular that I liked. So this one right here, it's written good take on top, and this one here is already mixed. So I took that section and I copied on new tracks, and I'm going to mix this new tracks, new version right here with you. So the mixed version sounds like this right here. Alright, and the unmixed version sounds like this. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing, I would take care of the overhead, and I would pan the overhead to their right panning. So overhead right goes to the right, and overhead left go to the left. So now you have the stereo of the drums. It opens the sounds, and we can have a listen. Alright, so after that, what I do usually is I would load templates of plugins that I already made. So I'm gonna do that right now. And another thing is maybe something that I don't do usually, but here, since I'm showing to you guys how I do the mixing, I name the tracks. So usually I don't do it because it's a habit for me now. I know the order that I always put the tracks in, but here for you to understand what tracks, what elements it is, I put the name. So kick, snare, left tom, that is the left tom on my left side when I play, the high tom, the small tom, the medium tom, the left tom, actually this is a low tom, L for low, and it's actually the floor tom, and after the two overhead, overhead right and overhead left. So I'm going to load all those plugins in each tracks. Alright, so I put all the template plugins in each tracks, and now I'm going to show you what they are in each individual track. So right here I am gonna start on the top, so the kick drums that I'm gonna solo. I put a bunch of plugins. So the first one that I have down there on the bottom left of the screen is the SSL from Waves. So I actually loaded from this plugin a preset called Kick Drums, and I remember what I did is I lowered the ratio of the compression. I think at first it was around 10, the ratio, but it's too compressed for me, so I did reduce it around 2, like that, and the threshold too, I think I did reduce it, put it around 1 minus 1.2. I don't want much compression on the kick, but the thing that was good was the EQ that they had, that was pre-made on this preset. So I left it like that. Then I have a FabFilter Pro Q3, and I boosted at 63 Hz to give more body to the kick drums. So also I do the EQing according to the drums that I have, and this is a 22-inch kick drums. So it has a lot of low end, and it's a big sound. So to give the natural sound of these drums, I like to boost with the EQ the frequencies that these drums produce naturally, so the low end. After I have a EQA, that is an EQ from Ableton. So I cut the low on around 21 Hz. I boost also around 88 Hz, and I'm boosting also the top the high frequencies. So the high frequencies in each individual drums, if I boost that, is to give more attack to the sound. And I have another Pro Q3, and here I boost at least 6 dBs, around 200 Hertz and 700 Hertz. So really to give more bodies to the kick drums. Then I have a bit warmer, so I think this plugin is a little saturation. It's from Ableton, and as you can see, there is a dry and wet button, if you know what that is. So it's like you affect the track with the plugin 100% or 50%, and I think this is what it was when I loaded the preset. But I'm going to reduce it. I want it to be very subtle. It's a little bit of distortion. I don't want it to be too much. And actually what it does is to give a warmer sound to the kick. Then there's a drum bus that is from Ableton too. So it gives a little bit of compression and a little bit of warmth and distortion. But the dry and wet, you can see it's very low. It's 28%. Instead of 100% that would affect completely the sound with this plugin effect. But I'm putting it around 23%, it's not much. Then there's a gate. So the gate is to remove the little sounds, soft sound that you don't want in the track. You just want the sound of the kick, mainly. So now, let's listen to the kick. It's on solo and it sounds like this with the plugins. Alright, so let's go to the snare. I solo the snare, and so I have a bunch of plugins too, and I have a SSL waves like the kick drums, and I use a preset from this plugin called Snare Drums. I reduce the ratio compression and the threshold too. I really don't want too much compression on the snare drums. And I have an EQ. I removed the low at 33, the low frequencies. I have also a bit warmer, a plugin from Ableton that gives a little bit of warmth to the sound. And I have an EQ here. And I just remove 1.8 dB of the frequency around 245 Hertz. So I did that, it's because I think there is a ringing sound on the snare that I try to remove a tiny bit. So let's hear it, let's see if it's this ringing sound that I try to remove. So I'm boosting to the max the frequency that I'm trying to remove, so I can hear precisely where it hits. So basically it's what I did. I didn't want this ringing sound, this particular tone in the snare. I wanted to be a little bit softer. Alright, so now I go to the left tom. One thing again for the snare, you can notice there is no gate on the snare, and I don't put a gate on the snare. It's because I use a lot of ghost notes, and sometimes when you have a large dynamic on your playing, if you put a gate, it might cancel the ghost note. It might remove the sound of the ghost note. So I don't put any gate. So it's I could adjust a gate to make sure that the ghost note go through, but it's simpler without it, so I just don't put any gate on the snare. So let's move on to the left tom. So I have to find a particular moment where I play the left tom. The left tom is a 14-inch tom, a floor tom actually. So this one here. So I have a SSL from Wave, and I choose a kick drum preset. So you can notice that actually it's a kick drum preset that I'm using on the floor tom, 14-inch. And it's interesting, sometimes you have to try things like that. Like there's names on presets and they don't match with the instrument you're gonna put it in. It's not like, and here it's not a kick drum that I'm treating, it's a floor tom. But I thought the sound was super nice and very cool. So I kept it like that, and now I'm using a kick drum preset on a floor tom, and it sounds cool actually. I have the compression and ratio and threshold a little bit lower than when I opened the preset. Here it's at 3.1 and the threshold is at minus 0.2, 1.2, so that's it. Then I have an EQ8. I'm removing some of the low end, all the below 30 Hz, I'm removing those frequencies. And what I'm gonna try to do, and I hear it, and I know it too because I'm used to those presets, it's like it's lacking the body of the floor tom, and for that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a lot of low frequencies or mid-lows with the EQ8. So let's watch what I'm doing and let's listen after. Putting frequencies like that, and now the sound will be bigger. Here, so if I remove the EQ8, okay, so I have a bigger sound now. Then I have a gate. So the gate is taking kind of most of the drum sound. There's a lot of leak from the hi-hat and the cymbals and the snare, but it's not a problem actually, because the microphone I'm using for this floor tom is not a microphone that is made for toms. It's more like a microphone to capture an ambient sound or voice or guitar sound. But I keep it like that so I can capture the sound a little bit from the room, and it gives a little reverb to the overall mix. So I keep it like that. Let's move on to the high tom. So I'm gonna solo the track of the high tom. So I have here a SSL from Wave, and actually I have SSL from Wave on each of the tracks, as you can see. But here I choose the preset rack tom, so it's kind of matching what it is. The high tom is a rack tom, and I can see already that the ratio of the compression is a little high, so I'm going to put it lower, and threshold as well. I am going to now show you the EQ8. So the EQ8, I removed the low frequencies, everything below 63 Hz I removed, and I'm boosting a little bit after that, so around 156 Hz. I want still the high tom to have a body, like a big sound, and I could emphasize that by boosting even more. Alright, so I'm gonna keep it as it is now, and I have a gate after, just to avoid the leak of other sounds in this microphone. But I have to tell you that the release of the gate right here, if you follow my mouse, it's a long release, because I like my the sound of the toms to have a long sustain, to resonate. See, like if I put the release at a short, it sounds like this. So I want it long, I want a long, but it would definitely pick up sounds from the other drums, because the gate is open and it captures sounds at this moment. See, you hear the cymbals hitting. But it's not a big deal, so I keep it like that. Now let's move on to the medium tom. Maybe here there's a better sounding tom, right here. So the medium tom, same thing. I have a SSL from Wave, rack tom. The ratio is lowered, because before it was higher than that, so I lowered the ratio of the compression and the threshold. The EQ8, so I'm removing all frequencies below 43 Hz, but I'm boosting a lot at 156. Same thing, to give more body to the drums. And there's also I'm boosting the high frequencies at the end. And the high frequencies I'm boosting in each of the drums, individual drums, is to give more the impact and to basically, if I'm removing those frequencies, you're losing the impact of the stick hitting the drum head. And I can show you how it sounds without it. So this is with the high frequencies boosted. So, okay, and now without the high frequencies, I'm going to put it down. So I'm doing it extreme to show you how it sounds, to make my point. Alright, so now I'm gonna put it back to where it was. So I think here it's fine. I have a gate as well, for the high tom. Same thing, is to avoid too much leak from the other drums. But since I like long sustain, it captures the sound of the snare, for instance, or the cymbals. But it's not a big deal. So now the floor tom, same thing. Floor tom, I have a SSL wave opened, and the preset is kick drum. So same thing than with the other floor tom, the 14 one. This one is the one that is on the right, and it's a 16-inch floor tom. And I'm using a kick drums preset on it. And as the other toms and SSL plugin that I opened here, I'm reducing the compression. Hear the sound. Alright, so then I have a EQ8 from Ableton, removing all the low frequency below 30 Hertz. I'm boosting the top end of the EQ for the attack, like as I said before. But I'm going to maybe add more body to this sound. So I see here it's I reduced frequencies around 63 Hertz. I'm going to put it to boost it a little bit. Alright, so it should be fine here. And I have a gate, same thing. The release is long because I want the sustain of the drums, okay? Alright, so now the two overheads. So overhead, same thing, SSL from Wave. And I have the template overhead, but I can see that the ratio of the compression is very high, so I'm going to reduce that around 2.4. And after I have an EQ8, I'm just removing frequencies below 47 Hertz. And same thing on the left overhead, SSL, Wave, and I'm gonna, it's an overhead preset, and I'm going to lower the ratio of the compression and the threshold as well. And the EQ8, same thing, I'm removing just low frequencies below 47 Hertz. Alright, so now I'm going to listen to the sound with the plugins. So it starts to sound closer to the mix that I did previously. But now what I'm gonna do is to take all the tracks together and lower the volume of all of them. Put it like that, minus 6.8 decibel. And what I'm gonna do is take the two overheads and boost the sound of those two overheads. So the sound is getting more defined, more high definition. It brings the cymbals up in front of the mix, and this is something that I like. It's a personal taste. I want the cymbals to sound clear and bright, and for that the overhead, to boost, to put the overhead, the volume of the overhead louder, will do that to your mix. So what I'm gonna do now is to adjust the volume of each individual track, starting with the kick. So I'm gonna add more kick. around here. So I'm also watching the meter that is all the way on the right in Ableton. You can see, and I'm making sure that it doesn't go to the red, so it's not overloading. But I'm trying to have the volume almost hitting the overloading zone, but it's never going to go to the red. Okay, it's gonna stay green. So I'm gonna do the same with the snare. I'm going to raise the volume a little bit. Okay, so now the left floor tom, gonna raise the volume too. I think it's fine. Now for the toms, the high tom, the medium tom, and the lower, the floor tom, the 16-inch tom. Something that is also personal is that I'm going to treat the toms like I did with the kick drums and the snare. I'm going to have it at the high volume. I want them to be very present in the mix, very upfront. So I'm not going to lower the volume. I'm most likely going to raise the volume of the toms. So let's take the high tom. Like this. See, I raise the volume almost to the point where it's going to overload, but it's not overloading here. I'm gonna try a different section. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same with the medium tom. So I think it's very low in the mix, so I'm going to raise the volume. Okay, this is good. And now the low tom, the floor tom on the left, on the right, I mean. So there's something, there's a problem here in the mix I can hear. There's a leak somewhere in one of the tracks you can hear. I think it comes from the floor tom track, and I think it's the gate. I have to adjust the gate, so let's adjust that. There's too much leak from other parts, so I have to raise the gate threshold a little bit. And now we don't have any more sound, so this is good. There's another tiny bit of leak somewhere, so it's maybe one of the toms. Yeah, right here. So it's because when I play louder on the snare and everything, the microphone of the high tom is picking up the sound. So I'm gonna raise the threshold a little bit. Where is it? Here. It should be better here. Let's check the medium tom now. Same thing. I'm going to raise a little bit the threshold of the gate. All right. Okay, so now I did adjust the volume, the gate of each individual tracks. What I'm gonna do is maybe to raise again the two overhead and try to play around with the volume of the two overhead versus the volume of the close mic of the drums. Rise again the volume of the overhead, and I think here we have a pretty good, according to me, this is my take on how I want to mix my drums and how I want it to sound. I think it's close to what I like. This still a problem with the bottom. It's still ringing, or there's still something happening here. I have to check again. Here, so I think the threshold, I have to raise it a little bit. And I want the release to be longer. So I'm raising the release. Okay, I think it's good now. Okay, I'm going to lower a tiny bit the volume of the floor tom. Okay. And I'm going to rise the kick and the snare together a little bit, tiny bit, not a lot. Alright, so I think it's close to the previous mix I did that is on top right here, and I'm going to compare now and see how close I am. Alright, now the new mix that I did. There's more volume in the mix, the new mix that I did. So if I wanted to adjust that, I take all the tracks and I reduce the volume a little bit of all of them together. Let's compare. Let's go back to the first mix I did. I think the toms in the new mix are louder. Yes, they're way louder. So I'm gonna reduce a little bit altogether the three toms, the high tom, the medium tom, and the floor tom. The floor tom too is too loud. Alright, so I think we are very close to the first mix, but it's like that I proceed to do my drum mix. Then I could add a little bit of reverb on the mix on all the tracks. So if I have to do so, there's two different ways on Ableton. I select all the tracks and I send that to the bus where there's a reverb, and the bus is right here. You can open the bus here and you have the reverb, and you select all the tracks and you add volumes here, and I'm lowering now. So here I added a little bit of reverb, but in this case I just wanted the natural sound of the drums without any artificial reverb that I would add on the mix. I thought it sounded fine without any reverbs. So I'm gonna put the reverb to 0, or the bus volume to 0, and have a last listen. So I hope you enjoyed this little video where I explain how I do my the mix of the drums, and that's it for this video.